Hello, everyone. It's Micah. Welcome to episode 10. I have been having a very relaxing Christmas break, which is code for I've been too lazy to do anything. And I really have. I have been so out of it the past 3 days, but I'm telling myself that it's rest and space that I needed for myself. But too much of anything is bad. Moderation in everything, even moderation. And yes, I know I'm re-speaking words that have been said numerous times. So, unless you think I think I'm being profound here. Um, yeah, it's been a rough 3 days. Rough in the sense that I have a hard time just unplugging and not doing anything. Sometimes I have trouble doing anything as well when I should be productive, and so it's this it's this constant tug of war with the productivity demons that I'm grappling with, and I think that's a common human experience, especially in today's world. But to hone in, past 3 days I really haven't done much of anything. I didn't even upload episode 9, so you're probably going to see episode 9 and episode 10 being posted right about the same time. I recorded the episode 9 on Monday, I think, uh, which was supposed to be my getting back on the what's the metaphor? I was about to say back on the boat, but back on the wagon. After a couple of just venti posts about how venti as with a Y, not I, as in the Starbucks beverage size or the Italian number. Venti posts about why I don't feel good and everything I've been going through, and why I haven't done anything the past couple of weeks. Wham, wham, wham. Um, so I was trying to, God, I'm really, earlier in my life, I was really not about using metaphors in terms of phrase. I was very literal in my speech, and I'm sure making up for it now. Like, I was just about to talk about circling my wagons, and I'm just like, good grief, can we stop with the metaphors? Uh, but yes, metaphorically, and maybe this will be the last metaphor for this video, but I was trying to circle my wagons and try to close out the month strong and really get some productive stuff done, especially since I knew this week I was largely off work. But that didn't materialize. What ended up happening was I just ended up resting, relaxing, and being harassed by my household pets a lot. And no offense. And it was not productive, but I guess it was the mental break that I needed, because today I awakened with more of a sense of purpose. I cleaned house, had breakfast, been very practical. And instead of waiting until later on in the day to do this video, it's still morning as I'm recording this, because my frame, my I was about to say frame of mind. What is the right word? The right phrase? My current state of mind is that I should do the next best thing, the next right thing. And I know that's a recovery mantra, but I think it's also a good general mantra. I have found myself paralyzed by the sheer variety of things that I could embark upon doing, whether that's catching up on work, getting photobombed by my cat, uh, like engaging in any one of the number of projects that I've started working on with this work in progress master project. And I was paralyzed by the choice, and it just made me very exhausted. Um, and I also really, really like the idea of scheduling things. And it annoys me that about a month or so ago, I actually paid for a scheduling app on my phone that I absolutely cannot make it work for me, because the second that I start scheduling things, I start frustrating myself because I'm not hitting my marks of what I scheduled for myself. And so I may just have to let that go and just consider that money that was, thrown away basically for that particular app. Um, I think I need to just maybe ease into scheduling in a backwards kind of way, sort of see what schedule organically unfolds in front of me, and then maybe codify it after the fact, and sort of to keep myself on track. But today I've just been saying what needs to be done now. What do I see in front of me that needs to be done? And that's why this video is being made. One of the things I have not done all week, since Monday, and now it's Saturday. This was supposed to be a big productive week, with lots of really really good studying and all that. And like I said, it just didn't happen. But I'm trying to just think about what makes sense to do next, and that's how I've been approaching it. The only thing that I've done productivity wise this week is I've, in fits and starts, kept listening to the Dreams discography. That's probably the single most passive thing I can do, is listen to music. And I've gone back and I've made it through another album and a half. He For his last few releases, they've all been under the banner of sex tapes, and which sounds very lurid, but it's also not very much not out of character with the sort of subject matter and the feel of the Dreams music. It's very blunt and often very sexual and in nature, but not without heart, and that's what really kind of sets him apart. He's not just doing it for shock value, although I do sense around the edges that there's a little bit of, ooh, look at what I'm saying, look at this, look at me being all nasty and explicit. But there really is like some heart behind what he's saying or what he's talking about in his songs. But still, getting through 4 consecutive albums of pillow talk and erotic R&B music, I don't know, it's a little bit daunting. And I made it through the first album, but it was after I had meditated, and I have been keeping up on my meditation. That's a good thing that I've done. I should point that out. And I've been eating a lot, and I've been sleeping pretty well. So, all in all, not bad. But I ended up sleeping through the last half of the album just because I was so relaxed, and because the music is in its own way very hypnotic. Well, all of Dreams music is hypnotic. If there's one word I could use to describe it, that would be it. And then yesterday, as I was doing some work, I started it over again so I could get the whole experience of the first album in the series. And so I listened to all of that fully conscious, and I got about halfway through, maybe a little more than halfway through the second one. So I'm going to pick up where I left off on that today probably, and then maybe finish off the third one, because the first 3 all came out at the same time around, well, I'm going to say 2018. And then he has a 4th installment which came out in 2020, and that's the last thing on the Apple Music Store, for him in terms of a EP or an album. So at that point, I will consider myself to have been fully versed in the Dreams catalog, and I can say that I can draw a valid conclusion about how I feel about his body of work. That's the one thing I've done this week. You know what? Earlier this week, I think I said this in my last video. Yeah, I think I mentioned in the last video that I did finish off the Art of Dying Well, which I thought was really, really, really bad. It was just bad. Like, regurgitating all the sacraments. I mean, I can't imagine there aren't hundreds of texts and meditations on all the stuff that Christians are supposed to do, and then repackaging it and saying, oh, in order to die well, you must live well, and this is how you live well, and therefore here's this whole book where they basically slap a label on it that has nothing to do with the art of dying at all. It was such a disappointment. But I'm excited to just delve into these works, and the reason I was listening to that book, that audiobook, and I keep repeating myself. I guess I've got to stop treating each video like it's standalone, or otherwise I'll never be able to synthesize any of my stuff. And in the next couple of videos, that's what I want to do. I want to sort of do an overview of what I've read, listened to, and experienced during the month, and kind of start working things into a type of synthesis and get an idea of like, what do I, what creative output or what output do I want to create given all these inputs that I'm experiencing. But the reason I'm doing this is there's a classic audiobook series on Audible, which is free, operative word free. So, and there's well over 1,000 of the podcasts where it's really just an audiobook reading. And I feel like it's just a great randomized way for me to experience a lot of things that I would not ever take the time to sit down and actually read. So at least if they're going in the background, I get a really good sense of the language and of the impetus behind what was being written, without actually having to crack open a book. And reading entire books is a challenge I've had my entire life. Not that I can't, it's just a matter of I want to do other stuff. I'm not a native book reader. I love reading and I love learning, but a lot of that is theoretical. It's not like me, like, ooh, I just can't wait to sit down and spend 2 hours being absorbed in a good book. I have to pretty much force myself every time. Now, once I get into the zone, I'm good, and I'm glad that I'm taking in this knowledge or this information or this perspective. But until I get to that point, I kind of have to grab myself and put myself in that space to do it, because it's not something I'm just dying to do, like other things in my life that I really, really just crave doing to give myself some sort of peace of mind or some sort of enjoyment. So that's the reason I was listening to an audiobook for something so far-flung and not really in my wheelhouse of interest, which means I can give like raspberries just like I did to that one, without any compunction, because it's not that it's necessarily bad, it's just that it didn't speak to me in any meaningful way, and I can't ascertain the perspective there that is making it special or classic. And again, that is in and of itself a whole. That's a whole, like I could probably spend an hour talking about that. And again, this speaks to the synthesis of things, so that even when you're experiencing things that you don't like, you incorporate them into your sort of system of thinking about things. And I really think that for a lot of classic works, they suffer because they're victims of their own success. It could very well be that the way that we even think about adherence to religious norms or expectations could have been heavily influenced by this book, The Art of Dying Well. And it's just that since it happened 600 years ago, it's become so ingrained that it's almost like we read Shakespeare and we see some turn of phrase in Shakespeare which has been repeated so many times that it's actually become its own idiom in the English language. We read it in Shakespeare and it's like, oh, Shakespeare's using this tired old cliche, but he invented it. But it comes off to us as something as tired and very unspectacular because of our exposure to it. So who knows if maybe the reason this is a classic isn't because it really is a good philosophical underpinning for end of life, but because it really does synthesize religious precepts in such a way that it's set the example for how we think about adherence to faith these hundreds of years later. I'm totally making excuses for it. I don't think that that's true, but it really does help you to balance out your perspective, because my gut level reaction is, but maybe there's more there. Well, that's all I'm going to ramble on about today. I'm not setting any specific expectations for what I will or won't do today. I'm just trying to I know I have so much on my plate that I'm really just trying to pick off things as I see them. And what I saw I needed to do is make my video. So this was episode 10. Until next time.